Hello and welcome to the Mud Pie. I'd like to begin probably an impossible task, that of studying the book of Psalms, but we will give it a shot and see how far we can get with it. Today, just a small introduction to the book of the Psalms. David is the author of most of the Psalms. Of course, some are accredited to Asaph, others to Solomon, Ethan, Moses, and then also the sons of Korah. There are 49 Psalms that have anonymous authors, and that means, of course, that the date for each Psalm would obviously depend on the author of the Psalm. Our English text, and I mean by that the King James text, contains 150 chapters, 2,416 verses, and 43,743 words. The word Psalms means song. The book of Psalms is the 19th book in the Authorized Version. In the Hebrew Bible, it is number 27 and occurs in the third and last section of the Hebrew canon called the Ketubim, the writings. Jesus called this whole section the Psalms in Luke's Gospel, chapter 24 and verse 44. It includes Proverbs, Job, Song of Solomon, and Ecclesiastes, what we call the wisdom books. Some have observed that in Job we find the unhappy man, in Psalms we find the happy man, in Proverbs we find the wise man, in Ecclesiastes we find the worldly man, and in Song of Solomon we find the heavenly man, meaning Christ. The book falls into 5 logical divisions. Those sections are Psalm 1 through 41, then Psalm 42 through 72, thirdly, Psalm 73 through 89, then Psalms 90 through 106, and finally Psalm 107 through 150. If you were to use the Masoretic division of the Psalms, you would have 70 books in your English Bible. There are 21 different titles for the Psalms, and most of them in Hebrew, and that's the reason I'll have such a hard time pronouncing them. But generally speaking, they have something to do with how the psalm is to be played. There are words such as Gittith, Higgaion, Mahalath, Maskil, Michtam, Neholith, etc. There are 27 anonymous poems in the last book, and 11 begin with Praise Ye. 13 times we find a notation meaning an instruction. 6 times we find a poem of gold. 5 times a prayer. 7 times something is to be sung to stringed instruments, and 44 times some of to be played with an accompaniment which is commanded for the singing. The order of books in the Old Testament, from 2 Chronicles to Psalms, is premillennial. 2 Chronicles has the dispersion of Israel, matching AD 70. Ezra has the regathering of the Jews, matching AD 1918. Nehemiah has the rebuilding of Israel matching AD 1948. Esther shows the setting aside of the Gentiles for a Jewish bride. Job pictures Israel's persecution during the tribulation, and Psalms begins with the blessed man who is to reign over the kings of the earth. The book itself contains more material on the second coming of Jesus Christ than all four Gospels combined.